HR.com's PHR and SPHR prep course demonstration. My name is Brandon, and I am the program administrator for all of the PHR and SPHR and certification services, really, that we offer here at HR.com. And I'm sitting with our lead program instructor, Jen. And between the two of us, we are going to go over really just the background information that you'd want to know if you're thinking about getting either your PHR or your SPHR certification. And then, of course, we'll also be talking about just some of the services that are available to you to help you prepare for one of these exams. Okay, so right off the bat, we're just going to walk you through an agenda so you can get a feel for what we're going to be discussing today. So as a starting point, we're going to give everyone a high-level overview of the different players involved with certification. So who's responsible for what in terms of the exam or the preparation and what have you. Beyond that, we'll get into a little bit more detail about the certifications that are available to you, and more specifically the PHR and the SPHR certifications. So within that, we'll discuss really what the exams are comprised of, the eligibility requirements for each, and some of the benefits of certification. So that's the WIFM, or the what's in it for me. Beyond that, we'll talk about, as mentioned, just some of the services that are available to you to help you prepare for one of these exams. And then as we close out, we'll kind of just point you in the right direction. So we'll show you where you can go to learn more about the certifications themselves and how you can get started if you're thinking about getting your certification this year. And then the very last thing we will do is just take any questions that you may have. So you'll notice on your control panel on the right-hand side of your screen is a box where you can type in your questions. So feel free to punch those in at any time, and we'll address those all at the end. Okay, so to start off, I'm just going to explain what HR.com is. We are an internet company. We started in 1999, initially as a social network platform for the HR profession. Okay, so similar to a LinkedIn, but really just exclusively for the HR profession. And although we are still a social networking site, a very large part of what we do is central to HR training. So you can see on the list here, we actually do many things. We hold conferences. We're a great resource site in terms of tools and templates and things like that. But as mentioned, a very big part of what we do is HR training, specifically through webinars. So we have thousands of webinars across a variety of HR topics. And then also within that, we offer training specifically for certification. Okay, so we do online prep courses. They're live. We offer materials. We're actually working on a self-paced or module-based course as well. And then we also leverage our webcasts or webinars for recertification credits. So without getting into too much detail, basically what that means is for those who already hold a certification, every couple of years, 3 years to be exact, you have to earn so many credits in order to keep that certification. So people can watch webinars on our site and do just that. Okay, but of course the focus of the demo today will be about getting certified rather than the recertification side of things. Okay, so let's talk about the HRCI. That's the HR Certification Institute, and this is the certifying body or the accrediting body for these certifications that we're going to be talking about today. So they're the organization that have developed the exam and keep it current every year. They're the organization that provide you with that exam and ultimately determine whether or not you passed it and earned your certification. And we're speaking to the PHR, SPHR, etc. So this is not to be confused with SHRM. Okay, so in the past, SHRM, which is the Society for Human Resource Management, they were the largest distributor and producer of exam prep materials. So it was called the SHRM Learning System for PHR and SPHR. And it was so common, in fact, that many people who went and got their certification, they actually thought they were getting their certification from SHRM. When in fact, all along, it's been the HRCI that's been the accrediting body and still is. And it's even more confusing now, actually, because SHRM has launched their own certification, which is called the SHRM-CP. So in the past, they were just a provider of prep materials and not the certification itself, whereas now they actually do offer their own certification. So just one thing to be very aware of is that the new certification from SHRM is not replacing the PHR or the SPHR by any means. In fact, the two certifications are actually competing with each other for the same market space. Okay, so just be very clear in that the HRCI and SHRM are two completely separate organizations with two completely separate certifications. Okay, and of course, because the HRCI has been doing this for a very long time, there's 135,000 HR professionals who hold either a PHR or an SPHR. Okay, so in saying that, let's talk about some of the types of certification that the HRCI offers, and then I'll pass it off to Jen in a moment for her to get into a little bit more detail about them. Okay, so we're going to start off at the top with what we like to call, I guess, the USA certification. So these are certifications that are relevant in the US. Reason being, when you take one of these exams, there's going to be questions and content that are specific to US policy and practice. Okay, so this is the PHR, which is the most common certification that they offer. And then we have the SPHR, which, although it's very similar in terms of the concepts, it's a little bit more senior level, a little bit more challenging, and Jen will discuss that for you. And then we have the PHR and the SPHR CA. So for those who already hold a PHR or SPHR, you can go and take your CA exam, which is, as you can see on the screen, it's based for California. Okay. And then we have the global or international certification. So for someone who works and lives outside of the US, it wouldn't make sense for them to take a certification exam testing them on US policy, right? Because that's not something that they would use or be relevant in their everyday work life. So these are very similar to the PHR and SPHR, except there's no questions about US policy. So I'm speaking more in reference to the HRBP and the HRMP. Those are the equivalents to the PHR, SPHR. And then there's also the GPHR. Sorry if I'm confusing here. There's also the GPHR, which is a little bit of a combination of the two. So it's meant for those who work internationally. So maybe they bounce around from the US to different offices around the world. Okay. But again, the focus of today is going to be the PHR and the SPHR. One reason being they are the most common certifications offered, and two, they're just a specialty of HR.com in terms of training. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Jen now, and she's going to dive in a little bit deeper into the PHR and the SPHR.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We're thrilled that you were able to make this information session so that we can tell you a little bit more, not only about, as Brandon already has, HRCI and certifications, but even more importantly, how we can work with you to get you ready to be successful in your exam. So as Brandon mentioned, my name is Jen, and I am one of our very dynamic team of instructors who lead our live sessions and work with all of our classmates to levels of success in writing their PHR or their SPHR exam. So with no further ado, let me walk you through the first of the two designations that we're going to talk about, the Professional in Human Resources, otherwise known as the PHR. This exam focuses on the technical and operational aspects of HR practices, laws, and regulations. Now, HRCI prescribes 6 bodies of knowledge to the PHR exam. In fact, you'll find that this is common as well with the SPHR. So we have 6 predominant areas. Now, the PHR exam is broken up as per weights, which you can see on the screen, for each of these bodies of knowledge, are also referred to as functional areas. So in going with the pie chart, we'll start here with the little blue sliver. 11% of the PHR exam is focused on business management and strategy. The greatest weight of this exam will concentrate on workforce planning and employment, where we address a lot of legislation. 18% of the PHR exam will devote itself to HR development. 19% concentrates on compensation and benefits. The second greatest weight comes in at 20%, focusing on employee and labor relations. And then a small little sliver of the PHR exam, coming in at 8%, will focus on risk management. Now, to tell you, though, a little bit more about the PHR and where you would want to find some commonalities between yourself, professionally, and even personally, and the exam, ask yourself some of the following and see where you do have, like I said, those commonalities. Do you focus on program implementation? You are tactical and logistical in thought processes. You're accountable to another HR professional within the company, holding some 2 to 4 years of professional exempt level work experience across all HR disciplines. but yet you don't quite have a very deep or even senior level number of experience years. If you have not yet had progressive or increasingly complicated HR exposure, and your responsibilities focus more so on the HR department and HR-related initiatives, but not per se at an organizational level at a mass overview, then the PHR is the exam that you will want to consider. Commonly, we see people in a specialist, generalist, or entry-level management position perhaps pursuing their PHR, just as an example. If the PHR exam is the exam that you would like to pursue, please note that there are eligibility requirements. These eligibility requirements come from HRCI, again, that being the certifying institute, the governing institute, in other words, that you would be sitting for the exam with. So HRCI will require one who's applying to sit for the PHR exam that if they hold their master's degree, you will need 1 year of professional HR experience accompanying that master's degree. If you hold your bachelor's degree, you'll need 2 years of HR experience. And if you have less than a bachelor's degree, you will need 4 years of HR experience. Now, let me just add a little bit of a disclaimer, if I may. Please know that these eligibility requirements come directly from HRCI. And while Brandon and I are very familiar, of course, with everything HRCI, and we would love to, of course, address any questions that are making their way into the questions box, which we will tend to at the end of this session, if there is a question that is rather specific and everybody has their own unique scenarios, we'll do our best to answer the questions, but we're not representatives of HRCI, so worst case scenario, we might direct you directly to the source, being HRCI, to address your questions, just to make sure that there's no rock unturned. So that summarizes the PHR. I'd like, though, to take you through the same walkthrough for the SPHR, the Senior Professional in Human Resources. And let's just focus on that difference, the key word here being senior. So the SPHR exam focuses on a higher end of professional design and planning. This exam focuses more so on upper-level management, strategic type perspectives. But this exam, just like the PHR, does have the same 6 bodies of knowledge. The difference, however, are how these bodies of knowledge are weighed in the exam. 30% of the exam, which is a massive amount, focuses on business management and strategy. 17% will devote itself to workforce planning and employment. 19% of the exam concentrates on human resource development. 13% of the SPHR exam will concentrate on compensation and benefits. 14% of this exam devotes itself to employee and labor relations. And once again, coming in at a small little sliver, coming in at 7%, is risk management. So, like I said, the same 6 bodies of knowledge, however, different priorities. So in considering that this is the exam that perhaps you would like to pursue, ask yourself the following. Do you design and plan rather than implement HR policies and initiatives? Because you focus on the big picture. After all, you are a senior level position. You have ultimate accountability for the HR department, and you have a very deep understanding and knowledge base of all the HR disciplines. You have about 6 to 8 years of increasingly difficult and complicated HR experience, and you use your judgment that's gained with time and knowledge. Because after all, you understand the business far beyond just HR, but how it impacts the organization as a whole. So with that said, let's walk through what the SPHR eligibility requirements are, again, prescribed by HRCI. If you hold your master's degree, you'll need 4 years of demonstrated HR experience. With a bachelor's degree, you will need 5 years of HR experience. And if you hold less than a bachelor's degree, you will need 7 years of professional HR experience. But this all begs the question, why get certified? You'll want to get certified because you will become a recognized master in the space. This will enhance your core competencies in the profession. You'll have the opportunity to gain internal and external market advantage while adding value to your own personal marketability. You will have the opportunity to network with field experts and leaders alike. Benefits are definitely reciprocal because this adds value to the organization. And in getting certified, this increases your professional worth, and it has been known to have potential for greater earnings. But don't hold me to that. So this is, in other words, as Brandon said, the WIFM, the what's in it for you. I would, though, like to summarize the PHR and SPHR by walking you through literally a side-by-side comparison. And this might help you from especially a visual standpoint to see the differences, if I may. So both the PHR and SPHR, as per the first row here, they're both made up of 175 multiple choice questions, 4 possible answers, A, B, C, or D. Neither exam has any type of short answer, long answer, or correspondence type component, strictly multiple choice questions. Both exams, as we already walked through by the pie charts, are made up of 6 functional areas, or as I refer to, bodies of knowledge. Both exams are 3-hour computer-based exams in a designated testing center, and they are across the country. The difference between the exams are that the PHR is more application and problem solving in nature and in caliber, whereas the SPHR is more strategic upper level management in nature and in caliber. Now both exams are based on 3 cognitive classifications, and that's how HRCI approaches this competency-based exam. The questions, 25 and 15% respective to PHR and SPHR, will challenge one's knowledge and comprehension. Half of the questions on the exam will challenge your ability to problem solve and apply the key concepts and learnings and so forth. And then 25 and 35% of the questions on the PHR, SPHR exam will challenge your ability to synthesize and to evaluate, which in other words is a way to bring together distant related items, because everything really does kind of go round and round like a merry-go-round. I want to talk to you now about how we can get you ready for all of this, because I'm sure it sounds pretty overwhelming. And make no mistake, it is a big investment. It is a big commitment. And we believe you will definitely get out what you put in, but we want to help you get great things out. So we have 4 different ways in which to get you ready. And starting on the left, you can do a little bit more of an independent open learning approach and purchase the materials only. And in doing that, you will receive 6 study manuals, 1 for each body of knowledge. As well, there are hundreds of flashcards to test your knowledge. You will have access to over 800 practice exam questions, and that's at a price of $450. If you are freshening up the tools in your toolbox and planning to test this spring, of which you've already enrolled and registered, then we have a 4-day refresher course, which I will speak to in a matter of moments. Coming soon, so stay tuned, we will have a self-paced comprehensive course online. And I too will speak momentarily about our staple product, that being our 16-week online program. So to speak in a little bit more detail about the 4-day refresher course, which we are just literally days away from holding, in registering for this refresher course, which, like I said, is really just sharpening up your skills and your knowledge to test and be successful this immediate spring testing window, enrolling in this 4-day refresher course will entitle you to 20 hours of live online classes in a small interactive setting led by yours truly. All of our curriculum is aligned with the HRCI functional areas, in other words, those bodies of knowledge, and we approach a beautifully balanced way to tend to both PHR and SPHR test goers. You will receive sample test questions, flashcard reviews, coaching and mentoring, studying and testing tips, and all of this is accompanied with a free HR.com profile. As I said, the refresher course is just a matter of days away. So the refresher course is held across 2 consecutive weekends for a total of 20 hours, like I said. We are holding it this weekend and then next weekend, that being Saturday, June the 6th and 7th, and then the following weekend, Saturday, June the 13th and 14th. The course runs with intermittent breaks from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. There is a cumulative 1-hour break, so it's 5 hours a day. And you have the visual here, and you can just eyeball this to see how we break down these 4 intensive days to cater to the 6 bodies of knowledge. And for more information, please feel welcome to visit our website at HR.com/prep course. Now, space is limited, and I think we have, and I'm looking at Brandon for verification, we have a couple of spaces left, but we'd love to have you join. So please feel welcome to definitely go to that website and enroll. The price for this is $350. This does not include materials. Okay, so everybody who is attending this course, please bring, BYOB, bring your own books, and we will happily go through everything. Our staple product, which is a 16-week online course, includes 30 hours of live online classes amidst those 4 months, and again, a small interactive setting. We really appreciate the small interactive setting so we can ensure for a higher transfer of learning and to give everybody the individual attention that they need. Included as well in your registration will be 6 study manuals. Once again, 1 study manual to tend to each body of knowledge. You will receive as well a stack of quick testing flashcards, access to over 800 practice exam questions, coaching and mentoring from your instructor, and we have a team of fantastic instructors, all of which are HR professionals, practitioners, as well as certified professionals. You will receive study tips and testing tutorials, and again, a free HR.com profile. I have a snapshot for you of the learning system that we use to supplement our 16-week online program. We choose the HRCP system. So this is the body of knowledge, if you will, or the learning system that we have partnered up with. And I'm just giving you a sample of the Unit 1, that being Strategic Management course, so you can eyeball the easy language that is used to ensure that you have a high transfer of learning. I now have a snapshot of our online practice tests, which what I'm hoping that you will grasp from this is the functionalities, that being that they, and you can take my word for this if you haven't been through the motions yet, mimic very closely to the actual HRCI exam, as well always providing feedback and reference points. And here is a snapshot of our quick testing flashcards that our students use to challenge their knowledge, their comprehension, and their recollection, where on one side of the flashcard you have a key piece of vocabulary, and then on the other side you have a definition or an explanation. Brandon is now going to speak to you in a little bit more detail about our availability of our 16-week online program.
Okay, thanks, Jen. So as we close out here, I'm just going to really just try and provide as much direction for everybody as I can. So that will include where you could go to find or enroll in a prep course, where you would go to book your exam, and where you can just go for more information. Okay, so for our 16-week program, all of our courses moving forward are in preparation for what we'll call the fall or winter testing window, and I'll highlight that in the next slide here. But basically, it runs from November 1st through January 31st. Okay, so we have courses beginning in July, August, and September. So since they're 16-week courses, or 4 months, however you want to look at it, that's really how far we've backed them up from that November, December, and January testing window. Okay, as you can see here, all of our courses are evening hours. We try and put them outside of work hours so everybody can attend, and they're either Monday and Thursday evenings or Wednesday and Sunday evenings. And the cost of our course is $950. And that does not include the exam fee, which I'm going to touch on right now. So one thing to be very clear of is everything pertaining to the exam itself. So let's look past really just preparing for the exam. So everything about the exam itself. So that would be the eligibility to take that exam, booking that exam, and paying for that exam, and then of course the recertification as well. That is all done through the HRCI, which again is the accrediting body, okay, the HR Certification Institute. So really the starting point for all this is their website, so the HRCI.org website. So if you're looking to get started, really the first thing that you want to do is have your eligibility checked. So if you go to their site, there's a button that says apply, and you'll kind of go through the steps, okay? Now as you can see, there's also costs associated with taking these exams. So without a doubt, unless you're really a seasoned veteran in HR, you are going to incur some costs preparing yourself for these exams. Okay, they are very difficult, and it's a very wise choice to have, at the very least, study materials, but I would more recommend a full-on prep course depending on where you're at with HR. But to take the exam itself, it's $400 for the PHR, and for the SPHR, it's a little bit more. It's $525. Okay, and again, just to summarize up some dates for you, the next testing window runs from November 1st to January 31st, and you can actually apply to take your exam any time now up until September 11th. Okay, and you can book your exam after September 11th, but there will be a late fee involved with that. So really, I just recommend if you are thinking about taking your certification exam this year, just circle September 11th on your calendar and make sure that it's booked by then. Okay, and last thing before we get into some questions is just some additional resources for you. Think of this as just like a directory. So the first one here is HR.com/prep course. That's where you'll find all of our services which can prepare you for an exam. And then beyond that, we have HRCP, which is the company that we have partnered with. So they're the producer of the study materials that we use. So you can go there to check out the books if that's of interest to you. And then lastly, the HRCI website, a very important website, as really the first things that you want to do when you're thinking about getting certified is have your eligibility checked and try and book an exam date. And that's all done through the HRCI website, so a great place to start. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the question box on your control panel. So we have one question here, just asking for a copy of the slide deck. So if anybody wants a copy of the slides from today, we would be more than happy to pass that over to you. Just flip us an email at certification@hr.com, and we'll get that back to you likely this afternoon. And if you don't have any questions at this time, you can also send questions at a later time to my email address, which is certification@hr.com. So we have a question asking about the next set of exam dates for 2016. So really, the dates follow a cycle every year. Okay, so we have what I'll call the fall-winter testing window, which is November 1st through January 31st. And then we have the spring-summer window. So that runs from May 1st through July 31st. Okay, so it's those same 3-month blocks repeating every year. So we have one question just asking about prior work experience in terms of eligibility for an exam. So what we covered today in terms of eligibility was really just what's off the HRCI website. So they list what I'll call like an outline or a very general overview of the requirements needed to take one of these exams. But really, when you go to apply for one of these exams, it's more of a formal process. So it's almost like taking your resume and submitting it to them. So they personally have to review your work experience and determine whether or not it's deemed as eligible work experience. So Jen and I usually recommend for specific questions about eligibility, you really are just best off going and speaking with the HRCI directly. They have a contact page on their site. I know their email is info@hrci.org, so you can email them or just give them a call. Okay, so that appears to be the only questions that we had. Oh, we might have one here. Good question, actually. Someone's asking if you can take the SPHR without having first got the PHR. So one is not a prerequisite for the other. Really as simple as I can put it, if you qualify for the SPHR, you can take it. Okay? So we have one question here asking about the new SHRM certification. Okay, so basically how it's worked thus far is for those who already had a PHR or SPHR, you were able to pick up the new SHRM certification relatively easy. without taking an exam. So that's only an offer that's available for so long. So if you wanted to get your SHRM certification and carry both designations, you would have to, of course, take the exam for that. Okay. Now, it's my understanding, just from speaking to a few people, that the exams are actually a little bit more similar than you might think. So there are a few companies that are working on study materials that can prepare you for either. Okay, and ideally, we will be one of these providers in the coming months. So ideally we'd want to host a prep course that, like I said, can prepare you for either a PHR or an SPHR, or alternatively the SHRM CP. But that's still yet to come. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, I have another question, sort of similar, asking if they test in the spring for the PHR, so I assume spring 2016, can you still pick up the SHRM CP? I'm not sure when the cutoff date is as to when you can. Yeah, it was Jan 1. I think they extended it though. I think. I don't know. Basically, what I'm getting at is you probably want to check in with SHRM on that. It was Jan 1, as Jen just mentioned, but I think they did extend it. It might even be till the end of this year. Okay, but definitely check with SHRM if you already hold a certification to see if you can pick that one up for free. Okay, so I think that's all the questions we have. If you have any questions at all at a later time, you can either email me, give me a call, or we also have a live chat service on our site, and you can reach out to us that way as well. If your question wasn't answered, if you could just please copy and paste it into an email for me, we'll get to that as soon as we can. So on behalf of Jen and myself, we really hope that this was beneficial for you in not only understanding the certifications in a little bit more detail, but also some of the services that are available to you and how you can get started in what sometimes can be a pretty confusing, difficult process. Okay, so any questions at a later time, please feel free to flip me an email, and we hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for coming.